what is up and welcome back to my channel, ShadeTV. My name is Marissa Hill. If you're new to my channel, do not forget to hit that subscribe button as well as give this video a thumbs up at the end if you enjoyed this unboxing and review. And feel free to leave me any comments or questions that you guys may have on the review that we're going to go through. And do not forget to hit that notification bell as we do want to update you as soon as we have any new and upcoming videos. So if you guys had guessed it already, this is going to be a great Monday because today we are going to be unboxing an amazing collab done with Aime Leon Dore and New Balance, and a different silhouette that we haven't seen between the two before. And this specific silhouette is actually a basketball shoe in particular. It is the P550 Basketball Oxford low top. So this is definitely, as you guys can see, a very vintage shoe. So I cannot wait to go through this overview on two different colorways today. Then we're going to talk about how this specific silhouette fits. Then I want to talk a little bit about Teddy Santis, the one who is the creative mind behind this brand. Then we're going to hop into some styling, talk about how much fun I had actually styling this on location. The outfits with these shoes popped so amazingly. I felt very vintage in them. And then we're going to conclude with some resale on how these shoes are doing in the aftermarket. So now let's hop into this overview and go through the two colorways that I have in front of me. First up, we have the navy color scheme as well as the red. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the colors that launched for this specific silhouette, there was also a light gray as well as a dark green. I didn't actually go for the light gray, but I did actually want the dark green. So unfortunately, sold out pretty quickly. I was able to actually cop the navy on raffle and the red online, but the green was just a little bit too difficult. But hey, I got two, so I can't wait to talk about both of these. So as far as this coloring scheme goes, this is just a beautiful vintage vibe that I love. So the two have released LD, so Aime Leon Dore and New Balance have released quite a bit of shoes together. I'm actually going to be putting another one up for you guys on the 827, which you are familiar with because I've done a video on the Stray Rats already. But they've also done some amazing collaborations in other silhouettes. So the 997 and the 990 V2 and V5 series. So this is definitely a little off the beaten path from what we're used to seeing with these two when they've collabed together. But I do actually love this silhouette. So, you know, we're used to seeing Aime Leon Dore basically use pretty plain backgrounds with the shoes to create, you know, some more pops of color around a very simplified background, and we're really seeing that with this, which I love because these shoes made it very simplified to really pair in the styling section because of these neutral colors that were used. So we've got just beautiful light accented coloring scheme going on here in the navy, and you see that on the heel that wraps around, as well as we've got, you know, hints of the double branding on the front of the tongue here, the New Balance. And I love that there is that apple there because, you know, New York is very known for the Big Apple. We will really get into some history later on as to why New York is such a huge influence with Aime Leon Dore's brand. Then of course we've got that 550 branding, and it's all in that lovely navy color. And we've got it on the trim here with this kind of sail aged vintage color scheme on the tongue. Then we've got just simple cream laces. This leather, my goodness, is just quality leather. I have expressed this every time I do a New Balance review and unboxing. I'm telling you guys, I don't know what it is, but New Balance is on their A game when it comes to using quality materials. And I really feel like this is just some quality leather that they've used throughout this shoe. As far as the midsole, we've got that sail kind of vintage yellow coloring scheme as well with this etched NB and New Balance on the side there. And then we've got that beautiful outsole tone of that navy color coming through here. And then of course we've got this N, but what I love about it, it's kind of like crackled. So they definitely gave, you know, the big N logo that crackled vintage effect, almost like it's been extremely worn in some kind of sense. Then of course we have just simple NB on the back here. And on the inside we have an outsole that is cream and it has the New Balance logo in there and says New Balance as well. And then we've also got non-marking sole on the bottom written here. And for those of you who have not seen the campaign, basically the campaign was shot with the basketball team. So it was the Sunny A15 UAAU basketball team led by none other than Kenny Satterfield, who's a former NBA star. So pretty exciting to kind of see, you know, this specific silhouette on this 15-year-old basketball team. It really kind of, you know, marks this community sense that I feel like Teddy was really trying to bring out by using the basketball players as the prime, you know, I guess model figures to really promote this new line of shoes as well as clothing. So a huge clothing line was also launched in a line with the basketball shoes as well. Unfortunately, was unable to cop any clothes to go with this. I wanted basically a long sleeve tee and those sold out pretty quickly. And it had the New Balance with that apple on it, so I was like bummed about it, but hey, you can't win it all. And the title on that ad was International Friendship Through Basketball. So definitely has that community feel to it. And I do love that he incorporated, you know, this younger generation into the clothing line to really represent community. All right, so now let's go over here and talk about the red. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the 550 line of shoes, this actually has not been re-released since 1989. So it has been a minute since we have seen the silhouette, which I do love that Teddy Santis really went back into the archives when he decided to do this collaboration with New Balance, because it really just kind of complements what his clothing line really exemplifies, and it definitely has kind of a vintagey feel to it. This is probably, out of all the colors, one of my favorite. I think the red and the green were two of my top selects. The reason that I love this red though is because, unlike the navy, because it's, you know, kind of, as you can see here, we've got a two-tone color scheme going on with the black on the heel and the red on the side here. We've got some more coloring on here. The red is outlined in black as opposed to this one just being in cream. So for me personally, I just actually love the black, the red, and the cream tones that are used throughout this specific coloring scheme. Again, we've just got that nicely aged, you know, kind of textured end there. It's got a bit of a shine to it as well. And I think it just really pops, and you can really see the sheen to this. It's a little bit harder to see it on the navy than on the red, but I do love the navy as it will go with pretty much anything you choose to wear it with. Again, I think that just because of the coloring scheme here, I feel like this sail kind of aged and yellowed midsole really just pops off of that black and red outsole on the bottom here. So instead of that one-tone color scheme, we've got the red and the black as opposed to just the navy coloring scheme there. But other than that, this is just a beautifully done vintage shoe, and I really love the newest collab with Teddy Santis and New Balance. I think it really came together quite nicely. Other than that, for the tongue, you know, we've just kind of got the colors swapped here with the red instead of the navy, as well as a black coloring scheme instead of the navy there on that co-branded tongue. And then we've got more coloring here. We've got red going on the inside of the tongue as opposed to that cream. And we've also got it wrapping around here in the heel and the back. And the same coloring scheme on the insole, which is just a cream, gray, and red colorway. So I do think there's just a lot more vibrant colors going on in this specific coloring scheme versus this one is definitely more subdued because more cream was used throughout the shoe. All right, so I just want to quickly talk actually about the boxes and how cool this is. So depending on which colorway you got for the shoe, it actually matches. So the blue came with the navy box to match the shoe, as well as the red came with the red colorway to match the shoe. So I'm assuming the green came with the green, as well as the gray came with a gray packaging. Very unique. And this is also a very vintage box. The way that it opens, so old school. And it's definitely got that sale vintage coloring vibe on it as well. Looks like the box has been aged. And each shoe also comes with 2 laces, separate from the ones that are already on them. So it currently, both the navy and the red are tied with a cream lace. This is more of a sail yellow colorway lace, and it came with a red. So the blue as well came with the navy and that sail coloring scheme as well. So also the green will come with the green and the sail, as well as the gray and the sail colorway. Nice to have those 3 lace options for the shoes. All right, so let me know in the comment box which out of the 4 shoes you guys think is the best colorway and if you were able to cop any of them. Now let's talk about sizing for these shoes. So I've never actually had a pair of these, so I had no clue what to choose size-wise. I went, with my 7.5 men's option as a safe bet. But when I did put it on my foot, I do have quite a bit of room. I could fit actually 2 fingers behind my heel when I put the 7.5 on. So I would recommend actually going half a size down, as I do believe that these run a bit large. And because these are low tops, I will probably wear these with thinner socks. But I did feel as though they did run quite large. So I actually got the red in a size 7 and it fits me to a T. My toes are at the edge, but I do feel like there's just still a little bit of room there and they do not feel too crammed. So as far as it goes, I would recommend going half a size down on these. And as far as the comfort and fit, I think these are quite comfortable. I don't know about playing basketball in them necessarily, but these are some great shoes that I feel like I was able to walk around the city and not have any pain or issues with. And other than that, yeah, don't stick true to your size, go half a size down, and I feel like these will work great for you. Again, I do have narrow feet with high arches, so it will depend as well as far as what foot type you may have. All right, now let's get into a little bit of history. I want to talk about who Teddy Santis is and where he got this concept for this brand, Aime Leon Dore. I mean, pretty unique idea, but it will be interesting to dive into more about who he is. All right, so let's get into the history, underneath the design and creation of these collabs that we've seen. So when the construction of the 2nd Avenue subway line threatened to close his family's diner on 89th Street, Santis started basically thinking about alternative career options. And through that was the result of Aime Leon Dore, which for those of you who do not know, Aime is actually the meaning to love, which is quite sincere and nice. So Teddy Santis is from Queens. He grew up listening to people like Mobb Deep, Nas, who still resonate with him to this day. He says it's very hard to understand that era of music and that city if you didn't actually experience it and live it. So he basically also states that lots of people are trying to represent that New York vibe, but if you do not really represent it, people see right through you and you can look fake. So what he says is, as his brand, we're representing that era through product. And we're doing it through visuals, we're doing it through film, but we're not trying to recreate it. So if you know this brand quite well, you'll notice that he has some great videos that he really backs his product with, and some great images. It's not just a product shot that he's putting out there. It always has quite an interesting message if you see the whole package and how he presents it to his audience, which is quite nice. He says he's a really big believer that streetwear really is New York. It was invented here, he says. Teddy says also that initially it started with kids not being able to afford nice things. So it forced them to really become creative with how they dressed. You had to be creative and be connected with the culture. And basically you had to hear word of mouth through the culture what was really trending and what was the right and correct thing to be wearing during that time. And for instance, he said, you know, if you were trying to hit up the basketball courts in Queens and you came looking like a dweeb, Teddy basically specified that you would not play. It did not matter how good you were on the court. If you weren't dressed to impress, looking sharp, you weren't going to get picked to play on the team. So you would be benching the whole time. So very important, you know, culturally for him to just have this good representation of how to dress right. And he felt as though the basketball courts were a great prime example of really where this foundation was created for this brand. So Teddy even says basically some of these guys playing basketball probably didn't even really know that they were dressed, you know, in a very stylish manner, completely unaware of it. So he grew up playing basketball his entire life. And it's basically, he says, a huge part of the brand, which obviously it makes sense, right, for this collaboration to be a basketball shoe. That is a very vintage shoe from the 80s. Pickup ball, he states, in New York is like nowhere else in the world. If you show up in Queens, again, like he said, trying to play basketball undressed, you're not gonna play. You wanna dress to impress to be able to be on the court. And the courts he described as being a giant runway, which I've actually never heard that before, but I think it's quite interesting. The basketball courts being a runway, a prime place where you can see fashionable people dressing up just to play ball on the courts. And so he says pickup basketball actually in the winter is the most amazing styling time of the year. And he talks about how the thermal tights and shorts, hoodies, cutoffs, and beanies are really impressive to see how each of these players puts their outfits together. He feels like it's kind of, you know, what his brand really represents as far as the way we style things. The inspiration comes really from that. And now I'm just gonna kind of end with some of his words. So he states, I want my brand to be known as one that touches beauty and real life in all of its aspects, one that tells stories through these experiences. The biggest goal for me right now is to create a vibe and a platform for a kid who wants to continuously evolve with the same values. If I had to try and build a brand and lifestyle like Ralph Lauren did, it's about staying true to what we really represent, which is where we're from, and that's New York. So as you can see, it makes so much more sense now why he decided to do this collaboration with a basketball shoe, but why you also see these New York accents with, you know, the Big Apple on the branding. He really is staying true to himself, and somebody who comes from Queens, understands New York City in and out. It really shows through in his design. So I have to give him complete kudos for really staying true to who he really is. All right, so now on that note, let's hit into the styling section and talk about how we were able to style these shoes. Oh, hey guys, so we are on one of our locations. I will say that scouting and trying to find a good location can be extremely time consuming and very difficult, but I like to kind of match the shoes with where I decide to shoot, just so you guys can kind of get a real good idea of how the shoes will look in different environments. So first up, really when I style shoes and I choose locations, it's really about what vibes with me and my mood for the day and where I would feel most comfortable in wearing the shoes that I'm styling. And this just really gave me a vintage feel. I didn't take it necessarily to the basketball courts, which is where, you know, this design and concept really contrived from. But for me personally, you know, the way that I styled this was some casual, some semi-casual. The first look though that I went with was these just great plaid pants. They're wide legged and they kind of have this great cream colorway on them. with black. And I paired that with this YSL leather jacket. It has some stars on it, a very vintagey kind of coat. It's definitely worn in. And then I also had a nice cashmere Tom Ford sweater underneath with kind of that sail creamish vintage coloring scheme. And you know, I wore both options in that first look, and I think they both just vibed so well with it. I also shot this on some cobblestones, just kind of, you know, really getting back to that vintage kind of vibe and feel. And I think it just worked very well with this shoe.
Got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
Next up, for my second look, I decided to go with a more kind of laid back look in a different pop of color, because I do think that even though I didn't match it with the exact coloring scheme of each of these shoes, I wanted to give you guys an idea that you could still pair like a neutral subdued colorway with each of these shoes, where the shoes really pop but also doesn't take away from the clothing itself. So with that, I took three items actually from the SKIMS line in her new waffle collection, and that is in the mineral colorway. For those of you who are looking or interested and like this outfit, I've got my links in the description box below, but I chose the mineral because it was just like this nice kind of pop of green colorway, and the green just overall really worked. And I think it's just because it was kind of a neutral coloring scheme there. I had a hoodie with some baggier pants as well as that tank underneath to match. And it just really made these shoes, I feel like, more of the statement piece. So I think that was a great option there. And last but not least, I chose just some casual denim kind of distressed jeans, and I paired that with just a cropped black turtleneck sweater. And of course, black goes very well with everything. As you guys know, I like my all black.
I only work in black, and sometimes very, very dark gray.
But the black definitely worked well for both of these. Even though this is navy, I think the black and the denim just really worked with the blues tones in this shoe, as well as the black kind of accents that go throughout this shoe.
Fresh, doing something you haven't heard before.
All right, let me know in the comments below what was your favorite look, or even let me know how you would dress these shoes in your closet. All right, so now let's conclude with how these shoes are currently doing on the resale market. All right, so let's talk about the resale on these shoes. We're gonna go through each of the colors, talk about how they're each doing individually based upon the color. These two are not doing as great as the gray and the green, but they're not doing so bad. The red currently retailed at $130. Actually, all four of them retailed at $130, but the red's currently going around $230 to $300, depending on your size. The blue is going around $250 to $350, depending on your size. The gray is going for $300 to $450, depending on your size, as well as the green is going for around $350 to $400. All right, so again, you guys, thanks so much for tuning into ShadeTV. My name is Marissa Hill. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, as well as give this video a thumbs up at the end if you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave me any comments or questions you may have on this review that I've given today, as well as don't forget to hit that notification bell, as we have a ton of up and coming videos that you're not gonna wanna miss. All right, guys, until next time, we'll see you on the next video.